Facebook, and YouTube. So we're going to go ahead and go live right now. What's up? What's up? What's up? Everybody come on in, come on in, come on in. That's why we always connected. And plus, it shouldn't surprise me that good people, like-minded people, know the same people. That's what I'm learning, is I'm just like, we're all endlessly connected. You know what I'm saying? So I want to thank you all for coming in. Come on in right now. I'm going to go ahead and check my other feed and my other stream. And I'm going to share this to one of my other Facebook accounts. Come on in. This evening, we're going to be discussing Ghost, Whoopi Goldberg, and the Magical Negro. I'll also go ahead and explain what the Magical Negro is for those people who are unclear and don't know. Okay? But if you hear, go ahead, drop me a line, say something. We're going to go ahead and get started. Of course, we're going to give our brothers and sisters, because it's 7 o'clock on the nose right now. So we're going to go ahead and give some of our brothers and sisters a couple minutes to get in here. You know how we do. All right. So yesterday, we lost a literary giant. We did. We lost a literary giant yesterday in the death of, or the transitioning of, one Miss Nikki Giovanni. I had to sit with that yesterday, and I really had to hold myself in rock. I was blessed, like many people in my life, to meet and be around Nikki Giovanni at different times of my life. And it blew me away that she passed away at 81 years old yesterday. I offer my condolences to her family and friends, to her sorority sisters of Delta Sigma Theta, to all of the writers that she's touched, to all of the communities that she was a part of, to all of the students that she taught. We lost a giant yesterday. And really, we lost her in the physical sense, but she joins the realm of the ancestors. I pray that she is welcomed by the ancestors, and that she is received well, and that she is truly at peace and in power. She was a fan of space, of outer space and intergalactic travel, like me. And so I'd like to believe that, sis has joined, she's a part of the universe. And so she has gone back to the universe and is up in the stars. She's just reverted back to stardust. So, rest in peace and power, Nikki Giovanni. So if you're not familiar with who Nikki Giovanni is, I want you all to go ahead, make sure that you do some research on Nikki Giovanni. She is incomparable, irreverent, outspoken. She's been that thing literally since like the 60s, really, if we're being real about it, in the 70s. So she's had a long storied career. So we kind of lost a giant on this side of creation yesterday. But I hope and I pray that she continues to fight for us on the other side. And knowing Nikki Giovanni, she will. She inspired me and so many other people who write, who create, who teach. And so I just had to say that, right? Had to get that out. But if you're just joining us, my name is Naja Young, MFA. I am a filmmaker, a writer, director, and educator living in Atlanta, Georgia. And hey, Brandon, it's good to see you. I'm glad you saw that clip of her and James Baldwin talking again, because it's powerful, right? Sis, she brings up some powerful points as per her usual. All right. But tonight we're going to be talking about Ghost, Whoopi Goldberg, and the Magical Negro, right? Ghost, Whoopi Goldberg, and the Magical Negro. We're going to give everybody else about 2 minutes to get on in here, because I'm chomping at the bit and I want to make sure that we cover everything. So go ahead, like, share, comment, let me know you in the house. Go ahead and share this on your feed. Okay. Brandon said, "You in danger, girl." Exactly. I was just rewatching the film. I've seen this film, I think, 5011 times. 5011, for those people who don't know, 5011 is a Black measurement. Okay. I love Black colloquialisms and Black measurements. Okay. Because they are so apropos. So 5011 means a lot. I've seen this film a lot of times and at various stages of my life. The film actually was released in 1990 and stars Whoopi Goldberg, Patrick Swayze, and demimoore. Okay, so we're going to talk about Ghost. There are some highlights to the film, and there are also some lowlights, and we have to discuss all of it. I try to be fair in my assessment, my critical analysis of the film, but of course, when things are problematic, it's my job, it's incumbent upon us to not only recognize it, but call it out and call people out to do better. You know, a lot of the things that we're talking about, you think hopefully we wouldn't still be making these types of films nowadays, but we do. We do. Hollywood, and by we, I truly mean Hollywood, not me. Hollywood does still make certain types of films with certain types of tropes. Interesting fact, Whoopi Goldberg apparently was not the first choice to play the psychic Oda Mae Brown. Patrick Swayze reportedly was the one who lobbied for her to get the role. Okay. So let's just keep that in mind, but we still have to talk about how what her part was in the film as a character and everything. So let's just go ahead. Let me give you a little bit of background about the film Ghost. And remember, we're discussing Ghost and the Magical Negro tonight. Who is the Magical Negro in the film? Why, it's Whoopi Goldberg, who plays con woman and psychic Oda Mae Brown. Okay. And before we even get into the synopsis of the film, let me say this. Whoopi Goldberg showed out, as she does in any role that she's in. Whoopi's an incredible actor. An incredible actor. If you have a chance, go back and also watch her one-woman shows. She kicks ass. Whoopi is incredibly talented. And it made me think when I was watching the film, I was like, I remember people in the 1980s discussing how unattractive she was. I mean, Black comedians. People thought she was ugly. And she sort of had this irreverent can-do attitude, like, I don't really care. I'm going to be pretty. I'm going to value myself regardless of what you all think about me. And so Whoopi honestly wasn't extremely popular with, I would say, larger Black America in the 1980s. You can disagree or agree, really. But that was my assessment watching it. She starred in The Color Purple as Celie, as the main character, our protagonist. And she, even in that film, I have to always remind people, that film was not well received when it was released. It wasn't well received by the Black community, or some of those in the Black community. Now it's a cherished part of the Black community and the Black film experience. We love The Color Purple. But I can remember when the NAACP actually protested The Color Purple and a few other groups and organizations and some popular scholars because they thought it just negatively portrayed Black men and had no redeeming qualities. And this is before the film was even released. Of course, nowadays we revere that film. We revere the performances in that film and the book. And now, of course, we have the musical as well. And we revere Alice Walker, the author of the book. Most people don't realize that Steven Spielberg directed the film, who is a white man. But if we're being honest, the film still stands today because it's a great film and the performances in that film were amazing. But like I said, I mean, Whoopi wasn't part of the in crowd, the black in crowd. Whoopi sort of, honestly, she was a part of the Hollywood. People in Hollywood loved Whoopi Goldberg. I will say this: Hollywood loved Whoopi Goldberg. Here's how you know. She was headlining film. She was the star of Jumping Jack Flash. She was also the star of other films. Jumping Jack Flash comes to mind. Fatal Beauty is another one. These are all off the top of my head. Join me, add in if you can think of some other ones. But Jumping Jack Flash and Fatal Beauty. The thing about both of those films that is notable, besides her performances and her one-liners, and she had, even like she did in Ghost, she has amazing one-liners. Like, I'm a little black woman in a big silver box, right? And Molly, you in danger, girl. Whoopi literally has some killer one-liners that I know had to have been improvised, because those aren't things that writers, we sit down and we, it comes across so naturally like that. And even though she's an amazing talent and performer. But I remember Hollywood sort of embracing her. She was one of the first actresses, black actresses in Hollywood, to have natural hair, to have plaits and then locks. And that was her look. That was her signature look. She wore wigs in movies and stuff, really as part of comic relief and a part of that character. But Whoopi walked around with her own natural hair. Sometimes she would throw in some blue contacts, but honestly, that's just Whoopi. Whoopi was doing her. She kind of talked like this, man, and she was sort of like a hippie, and she was one of those black people that was not that was just singular, and she still is. She's very much herself and comfortable in being herself. She dated a variety of men, most notably a few white actors. Got in trouble. One of her white lovers, Ted Danson, got in trouble for performing in blackface at a roast for her. And as we know, a celebrity roast is not something that is, it's meant to be raunchy. It's meant to be edgy. But a lot of people thought took it too far. So you had some black celebrities that got up and walked out of the actual roast. They were so offended, and Whoopi Goldberg had controversially defended Ted Danson and said, "No, I asked him to do it. I thought it was funny, and I told him to do it." So she came to his defense, which a lot of black folks at the time did not like. So Whoopi has had a very storied career. Okay. But let's talk about Ghost. So if you're joining us this evening, my name is Naja Young. I have a MFA. What's up, Saria Sweets? Cuzzo, Indiana in the house. Brooklyn was in the house. Atlanta's in the house. I see y'all. All right. So if you're late joining us tonight, we are going to be discussing Ghost, starring Whoopi Goldberg, and the trope of the magical Negro. So, what is a magical Negro? A magical Negro is a black person in a Hollywood film who is imbued with certain magical powers. And these magical powers are used to help the white counterpart, who is generally the main protagonist of the film, the main character of the film. In Ghost, Patrick Swayze is the white protagonist, and Whoopi Goldberg is the magical Negro. She is imbued with psychic powers after years of being a fraud and a con woman. But Demi Moore plays Patrick Swayze's widow. So let me go ahead and break down the film for you. So here it is in a nutshell. Even though Sam Wheat, the successful investment counselor, still finds it difficult to express his deeper feelings for her after all these years, the young Potter girlfriend wife, Molly Jensen, is the love of his life. And Molly Jensen is played by Demi Moore, and Sam Wheat is portrayed by Patrick Swayze. After he is murdered, his spirit stays behind to warn his lover of impending danger with the reluctant psychic Oda Mae Brown, played by Whoopi Goldberg. So that's essentially what the film is about. It was directed by Jerry Zucker and written by Bruce Joel Rubin. Okay. In this film, I will say this: Whoopi Goldberg really just steals the film. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. If you're asking whether or not this is a film worthwhile watching, it's interesting. I was thinking, like, I saw this film when it came out in 1990, and there are some very iconic parts to the film. There's a part where they sort of their foreplay is when they're, Molly Jensen, which is Demi Moore's character, is a potter, and she's sitting at the wheel with the clay and everything, and then a shirtless Patrick Swayze comes up behind her, and the song by the Everly Brothers comes on, and and time goes by so slowly, and all of this whole thing is going on. Oh, don't worry, y'all. Don't trip. I'm not one of them Black people that think they can sing or even know they can sing. Child, I cannot sing, but it's all good. Mena Kira. Okay. But they sit in front of this potter's wheel. There's clay. So it becomes very erotic. It's their foreplay. Very beautifully shot. And during the 1990s, this scene was one of the most iconic scenes, often reproduced comically, and done in many a movie, television show, because it was such an iconic scene. So the highlights of the film, I would say, are definitely Whoopi Goldberg's whole performance. She stole every scene she was in. If you watch the film, you're really watching the film not for the love story. You're watching the film for Whoopi Goldberg, because she is hilarious in this film. Like I said, great one-liners. Molly, you in danger, girl. When I was looking up GIFs and everything, you can still find a ton of GIFs, or GIFs. I don't know if that's what y'all call them, but clips of the movie and memes from the movie that are out here on the internet. And for that movie to have been released in 1990, that's saying something. That's an iconic performance. Another thing that I think is incredible is the cinematography. You get a lot of wonderful shots. The shot design is beautiful. The lighting is incredible. For those of my film nerds, the scene where, spoiler alert, where Patrick Swayze gets killed, they're on this New York street, and the street is all wet, so the light is reflecting off of the street. It's very cinematic, and it's exactly what your film school instructor would tell you to do. Is you want to create some dimension on this flat asphalt, on this concrete at night. Go ahead and wet it down so that the light reflects up from the pavement. And so we see that in this film. Also, the effects that were used, the special effects to create the spirits ascending to heaven, right? Or descending and going to hell. The special effects at this time were really incredible. Okay. For its time, we were really looking at this like, wow, this is a cinematic journey. Okay. But now that we're adults, I'm an adult, and I'm looking back on this film, there are some issues that are problematic with the film. So one of the things I wrote down was, and this is something that I think about, where are all the good Black people when I watch these films? Where are all the good Black people? Because in the film, you have Oda Mae Brown, played by Whoopi Goldberg, and her character does not start off as a real psychic. She's a con woman. She's pretending to talk to dead people, okay? And pretending to see dead people, but she does not. Patrick Swayze is the first real dead person that she can actually hear. She can't see him, but she can hear and interact with him. And so it made me think, wow, even in death, we have to do your bidding. Like you did, Patrick Swayze. Okay, she's a con woman, but you're there, and from the afterlife, you have decided that not only are you going to chide her for and chastise her for being a con woman, like you're the police of the universe, but you are also going to force her to work for you. Now, the funny thing is in one of the opening scenes of the film, before Swayze dies, she asks, Demi Moore's character asks him, why did he invite his best friend over? And he looks at her and he laughs, ha ha, slave labor. Are, are you okay? And then later on in the film, you force Whoopi Goldberg to help you not only solve your murder, but alert your wife, um, all of these different things because, damn it, your will supersedes hers, even in death. Yeah, yeah. That's what I thought when I watched it. Now, you can say to yourself, is that really the case? Especially knowing, given what the rumors are, which is that Whoopi Goldberg wasn't, they did not, the producers didn't initially want Whoopi to play this character. But I hear that and I understand that. And Patrick lobbied for her to get the role. However, once the optics became what they were and Whoopi was cast in this role, nobody ever stopped to think about this. That's my problem with Hollywood. Is Hollywood doesn't think. It doesn't think past what it sees on the surface. This is why you need diversity and inclusion in those writers' rooms and in those executive rooms that are making decisions, that are greenlighting these films, because nobody saw that as problematic. As a matter of fact, I've never seen anyone talk about this as it relates to Ghost. Even in death, the white character's will supersedes the character or the will of the magical Negro. In this case, the magical Negro happens to be Whoopi Goldberg. And she is magical. Because after Patrick Swayze is known to her and she can hear him, all these other ghosts, who she does refer to as spooks, which is a racial epithet, was used as a racial epithet, start showing up. And that's what she calls them, spooks. They show up. Now she's getting bombarded by a bunch of ghosts. Yeah. And even while she's trying to work with the other ghosts, what happens? Sam jumps the line. That's Patrick Swayze's character. He's jumping the line. And you have to help me. You have to continue to help me, or I won't give you any peace. And so he starts singing songs and everything else until she literally does what he wants her to do. Interesting. Very interesting. And then at the end of the film, she also offers her body up to him, because what we find out during the course of the film is that she's also a medium, in that spirits can jump into her. She can expel them from her body, but spirits can enter her body and move her body. So she offers that to Sam so he can interact with Molly. Again, this self-sacrifice for the needs of the white counterparts in the film, that is part and parcel to the magical Negro. Part and parcel to the magical Negro. It wouldn't be a magical Negro film if there wasn't some self-sacrifice on the part of the magical Negro. the Black character. Yeah. These are facts. These are facts. Get mad at yourself. Get mad at your mama. I'm just letting you know facts. Okay? Facts. In the film, we don't really have any other Black characters. You have Whoopi Goldberg's sisters who were helping her with her con game, pretending to be a psychic. But once she becomes an actual psychic, they are still there by her side. So they were a bit dubious as far as their intentions and things like that. Then you have Willie Lopez. Willie Lopez is this in the film. Whoopi Goldberg calls him Puerto Rican. He looks Afro-Puerto Rican, Afro-Latino to me. I've seen this character, this guy before. His real name is actually, I'm looking for it, Rick Aviles. Rick Aviles. So Rick was an actor. I think he did pass away. He passed away in 95. Rick was an actor, but Rick was also a comedian. And they put this horrible wig on Rick. I mean, brother had beautiful curly, dark brown, black hair, but they put him in the most awful matted ass wig and put that brother out there. Okay. But Rick Aviles, and he played, he was the guy who kills Patrick Swayze. For those of you who are big Scandal fans, I wasn't a Scandal fan. I'm sorry. It's not that I mean, I love and respect Shonda Rhimes, but it just wasn't my type. You know, I like dragons and zombies and stuff like that. Tony Goldwyn, the love interest of Kerry Washington on Scandal, plays our antagonist, the villain. He and Willie Lopez conspire to kill Patrick Swayze's character, and so on and so forth. So in the film, we have Black people of dubious character, who are the Black folks in the film, or people of color. Dubious character. So when I say dubious, I'm talking about these are Black folks that you just be like, their moral compass ain't always there. It's not really there. And Whoopi Goldberg, when she was a con woman psychic, she still had this storefront on the street advertising, you know, spiritual readings, all this other stuff, mainly serving a Black and brown community, as evidenced by the people who were in her waiting room. Once she became a legit, for real psychic and could really hear these spirits, same thing. But you had a couple white ghosts, really only two other white ghosts beside Patrick Swayze there. And Patrick Swayze, of course, jumps the line because, of course, his will supersedes everybody else's. Because, yeah. Okay. Now, I will say this. In this film, Whoopi Goldberg, like I said, has some great one-liners, and she does tell Patrick Swayze's dead behind off. She does do that. But in the end, even if she's telling him off, she's still carrying out his will. So, the thing about the Magical Negro character as well is that in here, like, there's sort of like this religious tinge, even though Whoopi's character isn't very religious, but she does talk about how, you know, her mother had the gift, her grandmother had the gift, and they said she had the gift and she never believed them, but now she has the gift. And we presume the gift is talking to the dead. The other thing is Sam takes the Lord's name in vain. God damn it, da 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 da. And she stops him. Don't you take the Lord's name in vain. She got real religious all of a sudden. A very religious con woman, you know, with a dubious past. Okay, but don't you take the Lord's name in vain. Okay. So that was interesting. I'm just looking at my notes. Again, she is a spoiler. He helps her get this $4 million out of the bank, and she isn't allowed to keep any of it. She did all of this to help Patrick Swayze's character, and there is no reward for her in this lifetime. A great sequel, follow-up film, since Hollywood loves a good follow-up, a good sequel, would be The Life and Times of Oda Mae Brown. Can we just have a movie where Whoopi is just being Oda Mae Brown and she's the main character? That would have been interesting. But no, Hollywood, mm-mm, mm-mm. But that would have been super interesting because, like I said, girlfriend didn't get nothing. Her life was put in danger. She had people trying to kill her, all kind of stuff in the film. She reaped no reward. I guess her great reward was that she helped Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore's characters. Hollywood, you got to do better. Where is my gavel? I need a gavel because guilty. You're guilty. You're guilty, Hollywood, once again bombarding us with some BS. So, do you have any questions? Have you watched the film? How did you all enjoy the film? Did you like it? Brandon, Javon, are you ready to be included in here? Yeah. That's all I got. So the film is, in and of itself, is 2 hours and 8 minutes long. If you're going to watch the film, if you've never seen the film, buckle up, Buttercup, because I'm talking it's going to be interesting. At the time when I first saw this film in 1990, I didn't see quite all of the things, or I recognized some of the themes and issues I'm talking about today. But if I'm being honest, I didn't really sit and analyze everything, think critically. I was at the time, I think I was 17. Yeah, I was like 17 or 16 when this film came out. Don't be sitting there trying to do math. My age is none of your business. That melanin's got me pretty well covered, right? So when I saw the film, I was just watching. It was one of the most popular films of that year. Patrick Swayze, let me see. He was known at the time. I'm trying to see if Dirty Dancing was before or after Ghost. He was the it guy. Demi Moore was the it girl at that time. And so literally everyone wanted to work with or be like Patrick Swayze or Demi Moore. Demi had that short haircut that was very much the time in at the time. And so when I say she had that short haircut, you see the short haircut that she's rocking also in the film Single White Female, in which Bridget Fonda, I think, stars, if I'm not mistaken. So at the time, Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore were it. Okay. He was considered all of that. Hey, Alton, thanks for joining us. We were just discussing Ghost and the Magical Negro. Patrick Swayze during that time, like I said, I want to say Dirty Dancing, let me see, came out before this. It did. It came out in 87. And Dirty Dancing, again, was a huge international hit. So by him being in Ghost, people came, which I look at the film now again, because I always try to decide whether or not the film still holds up. I look at it and I'm like, there's no way. Who thought that Patrick Swayze could play a Wall Street banker with that hair and that that outfit that they had? They had him in outfits that I was like, this outfit, the costume looks more like Dirty Dancing on Wall Street, especially when he had on his casual outfit, the outfit he died in with the red shirt and the black pants. I'm like, what you about to do? And they did have him do a few dancing type things where he does a lift with Demi Moore. And, he did have an incredible little tight body, a dancer's body, and shirtless and all of this stuff. And he does this sort of, it's like, okay. But again, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the Magical Negro. So If you're on Facebook, you can see Brandon's comment. Brandon writes, I'm still forming my opinions. This is my first time watching this. And after seeing the Whoopi gift most of my life. So Brandon, for those of us who are in our 40s, 50s, so on and so forth, is in his 20s and he'd never seen the entire film. He's only experienced ghosts through gifts and memes. So now that he has seen the entire film, he of course is like, okay. And like I said, Brandon, it's important to realize that this film at the time was huge. And again, Whoopi as an actor during this time was not without controversy within the Black community. So her other films that were kind of coming out around this time, like I said, was Fatal Beauty, which came out in 1987, and Jumpin' Jack Flash, which came out in 1986. And at this time, I can't say this enough, Whoopi's look was so unique. She also had a one-woman Broadway show, which was incredible. Incredible. It really was. It was an incredible film. It was an incredible concert. I remember watching it on HBO. And at the time, Hollywood didn't have many films where you had a Black actor, a woman in particular, who was the protagonist in the film, the main character. So Ghost, in my opinion, was kind of a little bit of a step down in that she wasn't starring in the film, if you know what I mean. Okay, she wasn't starring in the film. She had starred in her own films. Okay. And then she played Celie in The Color Purple. That was also released in 1985. Okay, Sister Act came afterward. And Sister Act 2, that was in 92 and 93. So Whoopi at this time was hot. Whoopi was hot, honey. Whoopi was hot. She was that thing. Everybody, I mean, she was the it girl, but I have to say, again, she was somewhat controversial. The Black community didn't always embrace her necessarily because she didn't necessarily, at the time, like I said, The Color Purple came out in 1985. The NAACP protested that film. It protested the portrayal of Black men in the film. So people were going out and protesting the film sight unseen. Then when people saw the film, it was like, oh. Now, of course, young adults, people in their 30s, 20s, even some people in their 40s, The Color Purple, now you would never associate it with the controversial ideals, with controversy necessarily. It's a staple in the Black community. It's a film that is lauded and protected. And, you know, if you haven't seen the original Color Purple, we want to take your Black card. But at the time, like I said, it wasn't like that. And Whoopi Goldberg's looks were often the butt of many a Black comedian's jokes. She was dark-skinned. She had natural nappy hair. Okay. And, you know, sometimes she was seen on the arm of many of white actor as their date. She was dating white men and did so unashamedly. She dated whoever she wanted. And so people had a lot of opinions about that. People had a lot to say about it. They questioned her quote unquote Blackness. So all of those things come to mind when I think of Ghost. You have to watch a film and you have to think about cultural context and historical context. Cultural and historical context when you watch films, because when you don't have some of this back information, you'll think of the film as just one way as opposed to another. It was also revolutionary in in Jumping Jack Flash and Fatal Beauty, that Whoopi was not only the protagonist, but she had love interests, male love interests, and they were white men in those films. Again, controversial at that time. Now, we're just like, not that big of a deal for us, right? We see it more often in Hollywood films and television shows. Whereas when we looked at it in the 80s and the 90s, and especially a Black woman with a white guy as her love interest, oh God. Mm, 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 mm. Child, Whoopi was pulling cards. But this isn't the last time that Whoopi plays a magical Negro. Whoopi also plays a magical Negro in the remake of The Stand. The Stand was written by Stephen King, and the film, the CBS redid a mini series of The Stand, and that came out in, let's see, 2020. The role was originally portrayed by the indomitable, the irrepressible, the incomparable Miss Ruby Dee. Okay. So Ruby Dee played Mother Abigail in the 1994 miniseries The Stand. And in the 2020 remake of the miniseries, Whoopi Goldberg plays Mother Abigail. And as Mother Abigail, they have the power of prescience. They can see people, they appear in people's dreams. They talk directly to the God of their understanding. They lead people, and they serve as a beacon of light for all of these people in a post-apocalyptic world where a super flu has wiped out the majority of the population. All of the people who basically are good people, decent people, are guided toward Nebraska, particularly toward Mother Abigail, who is played, of course, in the remake by Whoopi Goldberg. Okay, so she plays Mother Abigail. The character Mother Abigail is also in the book. The book is one of the longest books to have been published, I think, in the last 30 or 40 years. It's 826 pages, I believe, and I read all of it. It's written by Stephen King, and like I said, Stephen King has a fondness for magical Negroes. Last week, we talked about another one of his books, The Green Mile, and John Coffey was another magical Negro. Okay. In The Stand, Mother Abigail, like I said, is a beacon of light. She represents God. She appears in people's dreams. She leads people. They can hear her voice in her head. And Whoopi Goldberg plays that character. Like I said, the role was originated by Ruby Dee. Okay. Whoopi Goldberg plays this magical Negro. In the original, in the book and the original miniseries, Mother Abigail is told by the God of her understanding, God, that these 5 people are the people that are supposed to sit on a committee and lead this new community of people. And they start off in Nebraska, they end up in Colorado. Okay. In the original miniseries and in the book, none of these people that are supposed to lead this new found post-apocalyptic community, none of them are Black in the first iteration of the miniseries and even in the book. Mother Abigail is singular in her positive magical powers. Now there is another character who also has magical powers. He's more of a demon. His name is Randall Flagg, and you can also dream of him as well. He appears in your nightmares. And for those people who have a particular evil heart, he's the one that they are drawn to, and they go to Las Vegas. Okay. He's played by in both miniseries by a white actor. Okay. And Mother Abigail in both miniseries is portrayed by a Black woman, because in the book she is specifically like 100 and something year old Black woman living on her own. Now, in the updated version, they have her in a nursing home. In the original version of the miniseries and in the book, she lives by herself in the middle of a cornfield and has outlived all her family and her friends. Again, we have the magical Negro who is without family, who is without friends, and she's simply there as a device in which she serves others. In the original film, the majority of the people who show up in the people who were cast as the survivors, the good people, coming to see her, predominantly white. Now, in the remake, they do make one of the main characters, Larry Underwood, Black, and he's a singer. He's an entertainer. I don't know how I feel about that casting either, because he isn't the main leader. He isn't the main leader. He's on the leadership committee, and they make him an entertainer because that's what Black people are. We're here to entertain others. That's our goal. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So even in the 2020 remake, it was still problematic. Even though they tried to make the casting a lot more diverse, it was still highly problematic. Again, love Stephen King stories and books and stuff like that. But again, I would love to have a conversation with him where I could point out, like, this is what's problematic about these magical Negroes in your book, even in your books. Even if we're talking about the film The Shining, Scatman Carruthers' character, and I'm talking about the 1980 film The Shining, he also had powers, if you will. He could communicate telepathically with the little boy, but he still ends up getting killed. What the hell? You got all this damn talent. That's the thing with all of these magical Negroes. They have all of this talent, but their talent is only used in service of their white counterparts, the main characters, the protagonists. It is never used for themselves. They never have any family. So that's where Ghost is the exception, because she does at least have sisters. But all of them are dubious because they're con women at first. But Stephen King's characters, like Whoopi Goldberg playing Mother Abigail in The Stand, they never have any family to speak of. They're always by themselves. They're always very close to God, very sort of spiritual beings, a light, a beacon that people are drawn to. But in the end, they can do nothing to save themselves. Well, ladies and gentlemen, look, it's 7:48. I think we have talked enough. I want to thank you all for joining me this evening. Like, comment, share. What are your thoughts about Ghost? Am I taking this too seriously? Am I not taking it seriously enough? Do you remember Whoopi in the 1980s and the 1990s? What are your thoughts about it? I would love to hear them. Thank you all for joining me this evening. Again, my name is Naja Young, and that's Najaa Young, okay? I'm a filmmaker, a writer, a director, a screenwriter, clearly a cultural critic, and an educator living in Atlanta, Georgia. If you're interested in learning how to write your own screenplay, visit my website. Go ahead, hit me up here. I'll send you all the information. I do teach people how to write their own screenplays. I do a lot of things. So go ahead and visit my website. If you're on Facebook and Instagram, you can see it right now. And I'll go ahead and drop it in the comments on Instagram. Thank you all for joining me this evening. Have a blessed rest of your week. Peace.